Hello, Hem here with your self-love updates for the week. So I just want to say a couple of things before I went on today. My name is Hem, as most of you might know, those of you who watch my videos. I'm a self-love coach. I am also a yoga teacher, I have an angel channel, and I'm a Reiki master. I just wanted to kind of go through that just before I got into today's topic, which is a really good one. I love today's topic. Today's topic is self-love and care diet. And I love that word diet because it's one of those things that makes us think of food, but actually we can diet on lots of different things. And this particular topic that I'm going to talk about today is about being really safe. It's kind of safeguarding ourselves. It's about protecting ourselves because often we are not careful with the things that we consume and we absorb that come from the world at large. Okay. So if you wanted to step into self-love, for example, and care, and I always recommend starting at that care element. So, eating well, hydrating, looking after yourself, ensuring you get the dental appointments that you need, optician's appointments, eye tests and stuff. I advocate going that way initially, but then there's more to it, and this is where this whole idea of this diet comes in. And it is a diet. And the reason I call it a diet, and we'll start at the self-care element and we'll move into the self-love element through what I'm talking about in this video today. The self-care element is really being aware of what affects you, what bothers you, what overwhelms your system. Okay, that's the first part of it. And then the self-love part is actually really addressing those things that overwhelm your system. Really recognizing what they are from the self-care area, but actually really addressing them in the self-love area. So, okay, what am I talking about with the self-love diet and self-care diet? Okay, if foods are not good for you, that's a diet, a proper kind of diet. But in that diet area, you're going to make the effort to stop eating things that aren't so great for you. Smoking, for example, are you smoking maybe, and you know that it's something you need to give up? That can be part of your self-care and self-love diet. Also, are you taking anything like recreational drugs that really aren't doing you any favours? And that can go into your self-care diet, okay? But then it moves on to other areas, and these are the areas I find the most interesting. In this part of the diet, this is about you being really aware and really focused. So, are you mixing with people who are no good for you? Are you mixing with toxic people that are draining your energy, almost stopping you from fulfilling your highest potential and stalling you because you're looking for their validation in things in general? If that is the case, maybe the diet at this point is to have less contact with that type of person, less contact with anything that brings you toxicity. So then we can move that on. So that was say, let's say number one, okay? So then number two would be to check in on the things that you're absorbing from outside of yourself. So we'll go back to the toxic person and toxic personalities just a little bit here. But are you mixing with people who are constantly negative about the world at large and negative about you at large? In the self-love and care diet, it asks us to release that sort of impact upon ourselves and let go of people who are not willing to see the effect that they have on us if it cannot change. And often it won't change because they are a specific type of person maybe that you're drawing in towards yourself. Of course, we'll talk about that more in future videos, but for now, that's just a comment on that. Then moving into the next areas of the diet, what about what you're absorbing culturally? What are you reading? Are you reading stuff that's good for you? Are you reading things that are agitating you or making you anxious? Because if they are, the diet asks you to take time away from those things, right? Okay. What about newspapers? How much are you reading the news? I laugh because I'm not a great one for these things. I don't bother reading these things. I really just don't. However, if you're going to want to read stuff and find out what's going on, I get that. But it's to really recognize how these things are affecting you bodily and consciously. So if these expose exposure to a report or news or anything that you're looking at is actually starting to agitate you, then put it in that self-love and care diet and remove it from your life. Now, what I say is this: if you're absorbing a lot of that, it's to scale down. Like any diet, you wouldn't just stop eating chips forever, maybe. Or maybe you should. I don't know. But, it's this idea that you scale it back, bring it back, have less exposure to that thing if it makes you feel slightly polluted and anxious and overwhelmed. Okay, so it's to remove that from your diet, from your being, from your whole way of living, right? The next one would be the news, the actual news, the TV news, social media news, scrolling through all that stuff. If it's making you anxious and it's making you almost check in and almost not believe even in yourself and not value yourself, and if it's making you almost troubled and making living hard, then that needs to go into your diet too. Okay, so all it needs to be though is scaling back. Watch less of the news. Maybe you don't need to watch it twice or 3 times a day. Maybe you don't need to watch it 10 times a day. I'm laughing because I know people who do watch the news 10 times a day. But surely it's the same stories. I don't know. I watch it very little. I have very specific gaps in when I'm going to look at that kind of stuff. And I extremely monitor my exposure to these things. And so in this diet, that is to monitor your exposure to these things. But one of the major things that I would say is monitor your reaction to these things. How are they making you feel? How did you feel before you watched it? How do you feel while you're watching it? How do you feel after you've watched it? Check in with those things. Check in with those feelings. And this also comes down to, I suppose we could say this is like point 4. This also comes down to, in point 4, what kind of films are you watching? Are they agitating you? Are they affecting you? Are you watching a lot of documentaries, say, or horror films, say, or things that are throwing your system out of whack? If you are doing that, all this asks you to do on this beautiful diet is to scale it back so that you have more positive emotions within you and feelings within you than the negative emotions within you. Okay, so less of that shock response and more of that joy response, right? So that is those few little bits on the self-love and care diet. There are other things to watch out for, and they're things like patterning and things like that in the diet. They come later and we will talk about those soon. Thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully catch up with you soon. Take care and have a lovely week. Bye bye. Take care. Kisses. Bye. Love.